Cool.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll just have to
just a little here for the audience. So we're fast and loose on a Sunday. We don't have our producer, and we're just kind of shit talking. We figured this is its own kind of side bitch Thursday bonus episode. Not bonus in the patron sense, but like just like we're gonna post it and see if people like it. So I'm gonna say this. This is what happens when you don't have an editor. We posted the Tim Cartmell Fremen combat episode to various Dune related pages like Reddit and Facebook, and some of the responses were just absolutely bonkers in terms of like they would just fucking do it. They would just fight. They would just they know it from birth. Mike's analysis was basically this is the Marvelization or the Marvel Comics version of analysis, and we're trying to do a little bit more Tolkien, you might say, level of like this stuff warrants some consideration. So we are now shit talking the fanboys. I've heard about interacting with fandoms like the Star Wars fanboys. I wouldn't be surprised that they're just as quote unquote neckbeardish in the Dune community, but like, well, this was interesting. I think a lot of people probably hold on to the love of this book in a very teenage kind of way, which is per the comment that Messiah was a disappointment for a lot of people. That's evidence
makes
right
perfect
there.
sense, right?
So here's what so that's just a quick summary. Jeff was about to tell this story about what happens when your still suit or in this case a wetsuit if you're surfing. What happens when that gets full of fluid and yet you're still supposed to be agile and mobile? So that's just a little bit of context. And Jeff, now let's hear the story. And
so first of all, the reception in some of these Dune groups was interesting. So first of all, the question we're asking is what would training look like in a culture, in an honor culture, where your honor debts are often sorted out by the exchange of your own precious bodily fluids involuntarily, meaning you fight, you die, and then that's how you solve the debt, or you fight, you live, but you owe a debt. Like, everything is sort of measured in water, and water discipline is a huge driving factor in Fremen culture. Right. So the question we're asking in that episode, if you haven't heard it, is how did they train in a way that allowed them to become even more adept in battle than the Sardaukar, who, by the way, they're in a shitty place. So this is a kind of dangerous, difficult environment, but they're rewarded for winning. So you kill whoever in gladiatorial combat, and then you get to eat, you get some additional creature comforts, which of course makes you hungry for more victories. So they created this environment in which it's constant competition. And so then the best competitors get plucked out of the gladiatorial school and placed in the military, where they receive even more training. So it's a huge investment in resources, including water and calories, which are the main things we're concerned with. So then we're like, okay, how did the Fremen become such badasses? And literally people were like, and by become, we meant training. How did they train? How did they
how do you go
jumping
from
jacks
white
and burpees?
how do you go from beginner to expert?
Right. Yeah. How do you get strong? How do you get your cardio on? That's still a fucking amazing question for me. Like, I get how they could develop isometric strength, but strength alone is not enough to grapple. Fremen are a knife culture, which means they are a grappling culture. Right. Which is, I think I said in the group to somebody, I'm like, I have lost 2 pounds of water weight in under 90 minutes. Yeah. Easily. In the summertime.
Oof. Yeah. We've talked about that. Doing jujitsu in an unair conditioned, boxy kind of gym environment in Southern California heat. It might be 104 degrees in there. Easily you can lose that kind of weight. And also, one of the things worth mentioning is there's physical competence, and then there's literally knowing what to do in the moment, right? Yeah. This is a classic. So there's multi-factors here: strength, conditioning, and then actually knowing the techniques. And all of those take a long time to develop. There's a classic kind of meme of the quote unquote gym bro showing up to jujitsu, and he's all muscly.
Getting his ass handed to him. Yeah.
He doesn't. Yeah, has
it's my favorite.
Literally,
it's my fucking
literally
favorite.
throws himself. Yeah, as a smaller guy who, has some insecurity around my size and sort of a upbringing of being kind of a little not bullied but teased and yada yada. I get sort of a retrofitted, retroactive teenage joy from submitting the jock and quickly.
Oh yeah. Yeah, let me tell you, it makes up for quite a bit. Yeah, sometimes we get guys coming literally from a box, right? The CrossFit guys, and they're fucking strong as shit, and they have no idea what to do with that strength.
Right.
So what you're talking about is, it's funny. So Tim, who is our guest for that episode,
he looks like he's coming in 145, maybe competing weight 145.
Yeah, well, probably 150. Yeah, 145.
150. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Tim is a little bit taller than me. About 5 pounds heavier. He has a lot of interesting physical attributes. He has like perfect posture. His toes operate like fingers, which makes controlling him next to impossible. He's got, if anyone exhibits that sort of Prada Bindu Bene Gesserit training that like any human I've known, it's Tim. He can he can do these weird little isometric changes when I'm just trying to hold him as tight as I can, and he just disappears. So this actually brings up the point. So what happened in the thread is everyone was like, well, this is what it would be like in combat. Yeah, sure. In combat, we're going to go ahead and forego water discipline because we have a higher priority, survival. Right. So also an individual might forego water discipline, or two individuals, as they often did, to have a knife duel over some perceived slight. Both those things are real. And at those moments, both parties are making a decision to expend water for this elevated purpose. But in order for them to actually fight and feel confident that they have any chance of winning, whether it is combat against another enemy or it's individual combat, they have to know how to fight. Right. And so in the Dune group, I'll leave it unnamed, their first thing was like, it's a stupid question. Literally someone wrote, it's a stupid question. God created Arrakis to train the faithful. So magical thinking, right? Like it's just because they're there, they're good. Then someone was like, well, they're trained before they can walk. I'm like, that would be fucking awesome. I would have trained my babies to be professional grapplers from the beginning.
Right.
Before you could even walk, I just imbue the grappling knowledge, and then you're just automatically like Gordon Ryan level good. And that's important to say. Every Fremen male, and probably every Fremen female as well, are the equivalent of the contemporary Gordon Ryan.
Right.
Was it like 5 or 10 Sardaukar to 1 Fremen? That's
3. I think it was 3.
3.
I think okay. I could be wrong. But it might have been 5. It was not 10, but it might have been 5. Definitely could have been 3 though.
Great. This alone will probably get us kicked out of another fan group. But okay, so 3 to 1. That means the best, most highly trained, most expensive elite forces in the world.
Yeah.
We're talking like young Jocko Willink.
Yeah.
Out in the world, keeping us safe.
I'm going to be a dick and say we just name dropped Gordon Ryan. If you are listening to this, but also one of these people we're addressing right now in our little shit talking session here, we probably should just say Brock Lesnar because you don't know Gordon Ryan.
Yeah, you don't know. It doesn't matter.
You don't know. Yeah.
George Costanza.
John Jones.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, just whatever.
Anyway, so we're talking like elite force level, and then in secret, somehow this other group is 300% better. And the question of course is how. And so again, the group was like, well, you don't need it. So someone said redundant question.
Most fans know that.
Most fans know that. You're dumb for asking. They're trained before birth. Or they don't train at all, or it's just because they're on Arrakis. And look, I think all those things, there's some truth in all of those things, meaning the move to Arrakis, that environment, that inhibits or creates special constraints, which is what we're trying to discuss. But at the end of the day, they just seem very focused on dismissing any analytical discussion of Herbert's work. That's what it came down to, right?
Yeah.
You can't really analyze this. You just have to.
Yeah, everyone is offering a surface level analysis, which is just like the still suits will save us.
Right? Oh yeah, so that brings us up to date, right?
Or the Sietches are water sealed.
Right.
Okay, but like, what happens when you go outside and you need to do your thing out there? I mean, that's the caveat.
I just love just imagine. Let's just take our mental image of having read the book, or maybe you've seen one of the movies or something. You get it, right?
Right.
Water's scarce. These guys, everything they do is about, I'm going to fuck you up and take your water from you. Mm-hmm. Like, they're never like having like water drinking parties. Like that would be like the greatest debauchery, right? Just to fucking glug, glug, glug.
Yeah.
Like what's his name in The Three Amigos? Where they're out in the desert. You probably don't know this movie.
I haven't seen it in a long time.
Oh my God. It's Martin Short, Chevy Chase, and Steve Martin, right? And so Chevy Chase, they're out in the desert. They've been riding forever. They're all dying. And they're passing around the canteen and taking tiny swigs. And then it comes to Chevy Chase and he like tips the thing up and just like glug, 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 right? And then he shakes out whatever remaining. He swishes it around in his mouth and he spits it out. And then he looks back at his two partners who are literally dying of hunger and thirst. And he's got like chapstick. He's all, lip balm, anyone? And I just imagine that behavior in a siege. Like you come around a corner and here's Stilgar fucking doing 1,000 burpees.
Right.
Fine. He's shirtless or whatever, but he's like dripping sweat. And then what does he do? He just, those big gallon jugs that people carry around now that have like the aspirational like markers on them.
Right.
He just turns or like takes a fucking Sparklets bottle and just, downs it. There's no fucking way that culture would allow that.
Right.
Because that would mean that every Fremen would have to be both completely focused on water discipline and then exercise time, and all discipline would go out the window.
Right.
There's no fucking way.
Right.
So they had to develop a way to transfer martial knowledge to each other, especially to the young kids, a way to practice what they know, like keep that thing living, which means they had, we talk about all of this in the episode, but there have to be these components. One of my favorite things is this guy goes, well, as you can see in the Dune encyclopedia, blah, blah, blah.
Oh yeah, people did internal ejaculation or tantric or something.
Right. And what I found absolutely both wonderful and a little bit surprising about that response is they were arguing with us like, oh, no. This is all answered somewhere. And then the guy goes, yeah, so in the Dune encyclopedia, well, they don't really answer any of your questions. They answer other questions. And how do they answer those questions? By saying that very particular training methods are used in order to maintain. So if you're so fucking focused on saving water that you have to separate, I don't know how they did. I don't know what happened. I barely understood what that guy wrote, but somehow sperm and water are separated through some mental practice. I'll have to read the section.
Yeah. Just to clue the audience listening to this in. He insinuated that Fremen boys were taught basically not to ejaculate outside. Yeah. No coming on the stomach or tits.
Gotta save that water.
Waste of fluid.
Waste of water. That's how. So like, this is gross, but like, I love you, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, if you're willing to waste a little water on somebody's back, you might be okay. It's true love. All right.
Which would arguably make that let's just continue with the grossness. Someone in a sexual situation swallowing would not be doing the favor. They would be receiving a huge gift.
That's right.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
As a male, you're welcome for this amazing gift.
Right. I think that could go both ways.
Yeah. There are options here.
Options, yeah. So anyway, he was totally willing to entertain these very specific training techniques when it came to sex, but then to eschew the idea that a Fremen would need to develop their martial skills. And that's magical thinking. That is bootlicking at its finest, right?
So when I said marvelization, so we're proudly on the Chapo Trap House coaching tree, and they just did an episode where they reviewed the Snyder cut of the what's that movie? The not the Avengers, the Justice League. Okay. So they were commenting in the episode, we've reviewed all of the DC movies on here, but we haven't reviewed any of the Marvel movies because there's just nothing to say about them. And that is my contention as well. There is just nothing about Marvel it's all pablum.
Yeah.
Hopefully that doesn't mean
it doesn't stand up to any analysis.
Yeah,
right?
there's
any analysis breaks the bubble. Yeah.
Right. So I've been very surprised that it appears that this is what the people who we've just communicated with on this page, that seems to be about what they were. That's the level that they're coming in at.
Yeah, I think that's right.
About this.
No, it's probably like the same thing you would find in an Ayn Rand
right
online book club.
Right.
There's no analysis possible.
Right.
Yeah. So go ahead.
I have. So I'm gonna be honest. The first time I read, so part of what has been interesting about this podcast is simultaneously having a little bit of that vibe when I read Dune of like, this is and then Jeff kind of a little bit persuading me or making me aware of some of the depth of it, and then being like, okay, you're right, and then starting to see it a little bit more on my own. I have a little bit of a vision of Jeff locked in like a rubber room, right, as like the person who everyone else wants to operate at the Marvel level, and Jeff is like in this rubber room pounding on the walls going, Dune is fucking deep. It's deep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, look,
but it's all there. Yeah, no. I mean,
it is all there. I mean,
it's all there. It's some of the pros we've chatted about that, right? But
look, he comes into his own story like a reporter, right. and that really means that the work requires, and he's expecting some analysis.
Right.
He's not really expecting you to take everything at face value. As a matter of fact, you can't if you want to really enjoy the books. You have to do some work. Look, I'm not going to say that it's the highest form of literature or that Herbert is the best, but he definitely created, he and his son definitely created a rich universe that is explorable, is analyzable. Yeah.
Let me walk my last comment back, actually.
Yeah.
Here was my first read of Dune. My first read of Dune was struggling with the lack of detail provided in the prose, and actually going, holy shit, is this world rich? But I don't understand why it's so sparse.
Right.
And that's why I kept saying, where's the fucking, the appendix, or what ultimately became the encyclopedia that I didn't know existed, and then our conversation. So
even in the release of the much reviled film, the Lynch movie, when it went to video release, when you could get it on videotape in stores, there was a glossary included with the video, so that all of the Dune words that were being used could be followed. And I believe those were handed out in the initial screenings, but I'm not certain.
That's cool. Yeah. It's back when you used to buy CDs and it would have the notes and the photos of the band and the lyrics printed. That was the shit.
Yeah, liner notes.
Yeah, we've lost a lot in the digital world.
Right. Instructions on how to watch the DVD backwards so you could understand that it was actually a celebration of capitalist. Anyway, so I want to get back to where we brought people in. which we were talking about surfing in the wetsuit.
Yeah.
So if you look at if I'm looking at a shot from the upcoming film,
yeah.
But you could also look at sort of any artwork depicting the still suit that you want, and what you're confronted with is this sort of this utilitarian like outfit, very similar to a wetsuit. So it has some armor.
Frankly, it looks like the Christopher Nolan era batsuit in a lot of ways too.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. So one of the things that as I was sort of engaging with this community and trying not to get drawn into they wanted to have point counterpoint arguments, but I was just like, oh, these are great questions, amazing. Oh, so you're really gonna love this episode because I don't want to alienate these fucking weirdos.
So just so we're clear, I'm looking at a photo that I posted, but you can Google image search it yourself. If you just look up Fremen Dune 2021 or whatever it will be, basically I'm looking at a photo of Zendaya, the actress, and Javier Bardem, who is respectively playing Chani and Stilgar, and you can see their still suits in all their glory, with what appear to be in a couple places what are obviously catch pockets for the fluid or waste, etc.
So I was thinking about what happens. I used to do a lot of hiking. We back in the day, we had border collies, and I used to go out into BLM land when I lived in New Mexico and just go. So and it's almost always a vertical climb to get out of the desert environment and to get to something that's more alpine. Fun fact, for every 1,000 feet in elevation that you gain, it's like traveling 400 miles north. So New Mexico is such an amazing state because you're at like 10,000 feet at the top of the Sandias, and it's like being in the lower parts of Canada. There's ringtail cat up there. There's pine. There's aspen stands. It's amazing.
Did you wait? How many feet vertical?
For every 1,000 miles.
1,000. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
It's as if you're moving 400 miles north.
Okay.
It's a fun fact. So if you're like, hey, how come I just popped out of this desert landscape into this amazing alpine forest?
Yeah. It's
because you went high.
Yeah. When I had the extremely awesome pleasure of hiking Mount Olympus in Greece in May, which is not generally the time most people hike it because it is still at the tail end of what could still be snowy season. In fact, there was snow and I had icicles in my beard and everything. Yeah, it's awesome. I was above the tree line. So then there was the tree line beneath me. And then when I looked down across the valley, I could see the Aegean, and it was 85 degrees down there, and people were on the beach ostensibly. I couldn't see them. Yeah. They would have been beyond ants at that point. But that's
very cool.
Yeah.
Also,
was it
that
the
must
Aegean,
be a
or is that the other side of Greece?
That must be a dangerous path. Some bull wanders up to you, rapes you, and then Zeus is like, "Oh, it's just me."
Yeah.
Is that a thing that Greek people have learned to avoid? Instinctively. Don't go near that bull.
So the thing with I appreciate the joke, but so the thing with Greek culture is so much of the ancient stuff got absolutely subverted, or I think that's a term for it, sublimated.
Is probably the right one. Yeah.
There's an extreme, like the Christian church, the Christian church or the Orthodox Church, Greece is a very religious country. So they don't have full free speech laws thing. So a band like Rotting Christ, who is a Greek black metal band, they could be arrested for saying, fuck Christ or something like that. So where I'm going with that is there are definitely people who, in a kitschy sort of the we honor the old way, there's definitely a community of people. But a lot of the stuff that predates Christianity is not really. In the historical sense, it's talked about, but people I don't think really engage with the mythology too much from what I've seen. It just isn't. Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, but pantheon worship is a thing that's a little bit on the rise.
Oh, I like it. Yeah. Okay. Anyway. So all right. So anyway, back to the
surfing, hiking,
still suit. So the biggest problem that I faced in hiking in the BLM lands was how much water to carry in my bag.
Uh-huh.
So just imagine I'm a single human. I'm 143-ish, depending on whether it's Monday or Friday, because I like to eat pizza on the weekend.
Oh.
So and sometimes a little ice cream. Ooh. Anyway, so I've got to carry water on my back, and the question is how much do I carry, and how is that going to inhibit my cardio trying to make this ascent? Because a lot of times the trails are pretty steep. You gain a few thousand feet, maybe 4,000 feet in the early parts of the hike. So very, very quickly. So it's a tough slog when you've got a ton of water. So I'm looking at these still suits, and I'm thinking about what has been said in this group. Like one of these guys was like, yeah, well, all the water that you shed while you're fighting is caught by the suit. And then I think he also went on to say, and then you just render the water from the people you killed, which is bananas. But
yeah, that's not how the death still works either.
That's not at all how it works. And you'd have to carry all those like Harkonnens back somewhere to process. Like it's not.
Oh, I mean, imagine the water loss of trying to drag a 200-pound body.
Yeah.
So like at what point do you go like the juice isn't worth the squeeze?
I love that metaphor for this. Yeah. So I was imagining, or just remembering times when my own wetsuit had filled with water. Very difficult to move around. Like all of a sudden. So if you look at these still suits, ideally there are all these catch pockets and reservoirs, and there are pumps working in the suit that are trying to move solids away from fluids and blah 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 blah. That's all happening. But the key question is like, how much could you reclaim?
Well, all but a thimbleful a day, according to I did the analysis in that episode, 70 days in the deep desert. So that's not a military deployment, but that would be more of like an excursion. You'd be on death's door at day 70 in typical Fremen body economy type of situations.
That's right. And that's very low activity. So imagine how difficult it would be for that suit to be completely full. And what happens when it's over full, when you're producing now more? So imagine you go into battle prepared. What would prepared be? It couldn't be topped off because you're going to immediately start sweating. And I don't know, man, I'm having a knife fight with multiple people. I'm not drinking.
You're right.
I'm trying real hard not to die.
Right.
I might not be drinking till long after the adrenaline dump has worn down. Like even after like a jiu-jitsu match, water has never been the first thing on my mind. Right. I rarely drink water in like hard training classes when they're like, okay, water break. Unless it's the summer. I very rarely do I drink in those moments because it can be a real too much water can be an impediment. So my question really came down to like how much excess water weight could you carry and still be an effective fighter? Like I think it's not the kind of perfect equilibrium I think that people conceptually imagine. Herbert describes it as if it's somehow all constantly in stasis, but that cannot be the truth. That would be how it appeared to someone outside the system. Right. Just like if you watch, sorry, I know I talk a lot. But I was going to say, special forces do something. Yeah. It would look sort of effortless from the outside. Yeah. But those dudes are fucking training all the time. Yeah. All the time. Yeah. Yeah. I was going to say, so there is the water bag, which is almost the equivalent of like the urn, right? Yep. And it's a burden to carry, obviously. So if I'm not mistaken, Paul basically was like, I'm not carrying this after he kills Jammu or whatever. He's like, cool, Jamis. Although we should mispronounce every name just to make our fans super happy. Whatever. He gets the bag, and it's like, dude, who wants to carry a fucking bag of water? It sounds like it's leather, right? I worried about it being punctured. I didn't fully understand what it would be, but he basically donates it pretty quickly. He's like, no, nope, take it away.
what I was
Guilt
going to say
trip,
is
right? Yeah.
when we know that that exists, it never mentions the idea of anyone, let's say, draining the water in their still suit into a bag like that, hiding it behind a rock, going to battle, and then putting a tube and reinserting and pumping it back in, and now you get your water back or whatever. There's no mention of that.
Right.
And it could, in theory, happen like a savvy, like if you have something like not a siege, but a resting place, right, under a rock or an alcove or something.
Mm-hmm.
In theory, one could say depump down to 20% because we know we're fighting literally tomorrow.
Yeah.
Never mentioned though. So hey,
but he doesn't mention those things.
Hey, do fanboys, never mentioned this is the analysis that we're doing. This is it.
Yeah, it's of course never mentioned because Herbert's approach to writing is more on the scene observer.
Right.
The whole a lot of so someone, I love that the guy quoted the encyclopedia, because even in the books themselves, there a lot of the definitions for things are left to the ends of the book. They're left as supplemental. Mm-hmm. He doesn't do a ton of exposition. Mm-hmm. I don't think his writing style is really not that way. So you learn what you need to know about the universe as Herbert's characters move through it. There are sometimes expository stuff, but he definitely in the first 3 books, very light on exposition, very heavy on moving the action forward, moving. So I think analysis is fun. It's a useful thing to do with his work, because if to the extent that you're interested in the universe. When you made that Marvel comment, it really struck me. The same with Star Wars, right? There's this idea of what's canon and what's not canon, and what kinds of analysis can lead to alteration of canonical ideas. Mm-hmm. And yeah, there is. So it felt like a fair bit of gatekeeping to suggest that somehow the texts themselves have enough information to answer this question. They definitely do not. Mm-mm. Yeah, do not. And that feels intentional on Herbert's part and on the part of his son. Mm-hmm. Even when they write exposition, like a book dedicated to explaining some of the history, that often fails to happen because they're so focused on the action in that past period. So it sheds light, but it doesn't fully explain. And I like that. That's a good open world thing to do. Right. Now, the tighter you nail it down, the less flexibility and freedom you have. Yeah. So anyway, I love these communities. I truly do. So it may sound like we're bashing on it a little bit. I think we were just surprised at in this one community, in the lack of willingness of certain members of it to really engage in analysis. Yeah. Which is what makes it fun, which is what's made Tolkien a lifelong interest for me. Right. And I think it's why we chose the genre. I think a lot of space opera has built these big worlds, which kind of lend themselves to analysis, which I just find to be really fun. Yeah. Yeah. So it can be magical too. Yeah. 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 So if we're in your communities, we love you. Mm-hmm. Absolutely do. And sometimes y'all can be a little gatekeepery. Say that with love. Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, there definitely was a sense of almost like one-upsmanship. Oh yeah, each person wanting to tell us we were dumb for asking the question harder than the person before. Right. This question doesn't need to be asked, this whatever. Just very, very interesting. Yeah. I would wonder if I have what's there's, I mean, obviously we could talk about social media, whatever. What's interesting is how quick and easy it is to say that's a dumb question. Oh, and the idea is, and I appreciate, Jeff, that you were getting close to it and then decided not to, which is
you could have literally typed out the entire episode we recorded. In our context, it's like, well, why don't you just listen to it? Now I understand.
Which is what I did.
Well,
I was like, oh, you're going to love this episode. Look at
Right.
your arguments. Those are
Right.
amazing.
Right. I mean,
them.
there's something to be said there. I mean, there's something to be said for why should they listen to us? They don't know us, you know, as part of the marketing, right? Creating that demand or creating that interest in like, oh, maybe I should engage with this deeper. So,
but also, pulling them into it. So something they already absolutely love, pulling them into a deeper appreciation of the thing they love.
Yeah.
I think sometimes people are worried that analysis will hurt the object of their attention or affection, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I analyze it too much, I might find flaws, and I might find those flaws irritating, and it might make continued engagement difficult.
Right.
That certainly has been true for me with Star Wars.
Right.
To the point where I can't there's only 2 good Star Wars movies. Maybe there's only one. Maybe Rogue One is probably the only one. Because it's the least Star Warsy in that way of all the others. Mm-hmm. It isn't beholden to. It isn't beholden to a lot of the canonical structures that make the other movies horrible. They're not obliged to have Jar Jar Binks running around in there. Not that Jar Jar is. I mean, it's bad, but there's way worse going on. You just don't have to deal with any of that. It's like we got a mission. It's impossible. It's difficult. We're going to come together. We're going to fulfill that mission. It has the flavor of sort of the Jedi Order as a religious, mystical kind of thing, which is something that was in the first movie that I really enjoyed. Making it accessible to everyone. Right. There was no like blood test for purity in Rogue One.
Right.
Anyway, but I go on. But so I like the open world. I like the open worlds. I like the ability to explore. And a big part of exploring is being able to figure stuff out on my own. And I think Herbert just did a fucking amazing job. Just like Tolkien did, of creating something so vast, so potentially vast that people can play in this universe forever. Right. Yeah. I mean, it is really a beautiful trick. Not every author is able to do this. George, I used to listen to this podcast on Song of Ice and Fire.
Which one?
It's those 2 kind of comedians who were stoned all the time and they didn't really know anything about the books. They just started watching the show. Okay. And then they became nerds, but they used to refer, like early on, they referred to George R.R. Martin as George Railroad Martin, which I found absolutely hilarious. And so can't help myself from saying. But even George Martin did the same thing, right? Oh, I love. I find myself. I mean, maybe it's because of the time and context. Am I more interested in the mysteries of the Herod, the Herodrim, or am I more interested in Essos and the bones and the 5 forts? Right. Could be. There is part of me that feels like I could be, maybe I actually mildly disagree with you in like a loving way, where there's a part of me that's like, Tolkien is sort of, well, first it's complete because he passed away. Right. Yeah. But it's like, there's his stories. But his son went. Right. Yeah. What I mean to say is analysis is definitely welcome, right? Yes. Like some of the like Tolkien professor episodes about the Silmarillion that are like an hour and a half per chapter, 2 hours per chapter. Super cool because it talks about some of the stuff you talk about, like the Norse mythology and the what do we think. There's almost like a religious and analysis, which is completely appropriate for the Iolindale. But in terms of, I guess what I'm trying to more say is maybe it's because it's all of Tolkien is complete with the passing of Tolkien and obviously then his son, but is sort of there's no mystery left where I don't know if anyone, I don't really know what the fuck I'm saying, to be honest with you. I guess maybe I'm just waiting for George R. R. Martin to finish his world. I'm curious about anyone co-opting his, like, will he license anything? He's so far, it doesn't appear that he's licensed anything. We know that with the
Lord of the Rings on Prime show, it takes place during the Second Age. So it's going to be all about like the first rise of Sauron after he was Morgoth's kind of assistant, if you want to call it that. We know that it's going to be about the height of Numenor. But it's really interesting how they have to keep it canon. And then there is a lot that they can do. It is, I guess to your point, open world. There's a lot they can do, and then there's some things they can't do.
I think we're going to find out how certain people were able to make more of their certain race, certain
creators, certain creative teams.
Oh no, I bet literally we're going to find out how little baby hobbits get made. We might find out how little baby elves get made, which I think are fascinating questions.
Right.
I mean, we're asked to accept. So in the works themselves, we have a human. True, he's a king who is sort of half. He's got some elven blood, right?
Who? Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
First king of Numenor. I'm not. What? Yeah. I think he's halfsies.
So that alone. Just want more analysis there. Want to know what it was like.
Yeah.
How was it when you went to preschool and kindergarten? How did people treat you?
Mm-hmm.
Was it awesome?
Mm-hmm.
Were you like, yeah, I mean, that kind of thinking about what was it like to be in that world. So fun.
Mm-hmm.
So fun. And it creates new derivative works, which I think is like the thing that makes Tolkien and potentially Railroad, George R. And others, and Herbert so fascinating.
All right.
Yeah, like the sisterhood that's coming out. I think this is going to be a really beautiful. I mean, who knows what they're going to do with it, but I'm excited to see the TV series because it will go really deep into what it's like to be a Bene Gesserit.
Mm-hmm.
What was that day to day like? And I find that fascinating.
Yeah. Is it going to be
the whole thing where Jessica is? I'm probably giving away huge stuff here, but okay. So when Jessica has to train somebody else,
if you're still listening, you don't give a fuck, and there's nothing. If you're still listening, nothing's a spoiler. Let's assume.
Right. But when she's training, what's his name? The
Carino, the guy who took the Carino name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's some of my favorite stuff because he's like a rank amateur. He doesn't really know anything.
Yeah.
But is fascinated, and then he takes to it, and he has some skill. That is a Luke Skywalker story right there.
Now,
right?
if I'm
she's sorry, go ahead.
Oh, it just help me out. He takes the Carino name because he's actually the nephew of the Empress who obviously got the Carino name by marriage. Right.
And he's the closest in line to. He would be the first in line.
Yeah. So because there's.
To be the
Carino didn't have any sons, or he got killed or something.
Correct.
Irulan is obviously a daughter, becomes Muad'Dib's wife, and then it's so she has her. Okay, right. So
yeah.
Right.
So, but the point I'm trying to make is that the story of, if you really want to understand some of the Prana Bindu training and stuff, that's where you really learn a lot about it. Is when Jessica is brought to Carino to teach this guy.
Right.
To become his and it's no exposition, it's live action moving it forward. And so I love the idea of seeing the Bene Gesserit seeding the Missionaria Protectiva on other planets. I'm fascinated by what that must have been like. I want to know what it was like to be on what's the name of the planet, the Bene Gesserit planet.
Fuck.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
I can't keep it all in my.
Well, they have a planet they literally call Chapter House, but that's not that you're talking about.
That's not what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Thinking of the place where what's her name is constantly going, where they have all their Wallach.
Okay, right.
Yeah, I knew I'd get there somewhere. Wallach is such a weird. All by itself, it's just a weird name. I don't know what it reminds me of, but Wallace and Gromit or something. Anyway, so I'm very excited to see where they go with that, and I think it'll be net new content. Right.
How involved is Brian Herbert? Do you know? Sorry, I just interrupted you a little bit, but
no.
That's where I was going with this. Is do we?
Mike,
do we?
you're the Hollywood insider. You're supposed to know.
Oh shit. Yeah. Let me look into that. I'll look into that later. Actually.
Mike is a great actor whose time has not yet come, but will. I think once everyone sees I keep calling him the Austrian dude, but the German dude. I think once people see that, I think.
Do you think I should start?
It unlocks a career for you that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So our history is a funny history, but that German character has a lot to do with it. I was a little bit afraid of you when I first showed up. I'm like, oh, that guy looks a little like he looks pretty tough. Oh, the kind of role, and you are a very difficult grappler to hold on to. Yeah, that's real. But then we'd have these training sessions, and like, God damn, that guy's a beast. And then I go home and like in my Facebook feed, he'd be like ordering some kind of like mocha frappe, whatever, and just having these hilarious conversations in his German guy persona, which is the fucking best.
Oh, well, thank you.
Germans are uniquely, they give themselves permission to say just about any fucking thing.
Yeah.
And you have captured that, like that sort of self-awareness of, oh, I can ask these questions because I'm German so perfectly. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know how we got off on that, but you're supposed to know the inside scoop on Hollywood because
I will look it up and I will report back. That is what I will task myself. Actually, I could just Google it right now.
You gotta have to take a lunch with somebody, I guess. Is that how that works in Hollywood? You get a meeting?
Yeah, that is exactly how. Is Brian Herbert involved in the
Hello, get me Rob Reiner on the phone.
Google is not cooperating. So, okay. Okay, this is gonna be hard to find. Wait, hold on. An adaptation of Brian Herbert's books.
Yeah, the Sisterhood, right?
Yeah, right. Originally announced last year's part HBO Max as its fourth prequel in the Dune saga. Recently, official synopsis. And this is the one where you said you didn't feel like you got the director of the film was okay. I'm a little confused by this. Others include, okay, hold on. The director of the film, Denis Villeneuve, will direct the pilot episode and act as executive producer of the series. Also acting as executive producers, John Spates, Prometheus, Doctor Strange, who's also involved in the movie and is no longer attached as showrunner. Others include Dana Calvo, Good Girls Revolt, Narcos, as well as Byron Merritt, Kim Herbert, and Brian Herbert himself.
Nice.
3 of which are also executive producers of the film. Okay, so this Kevin J. Anderson. Okay, so this definitely has to be the guy has to say this is what I and my father would have approved of. So
yeah,
that's good.
I mean, that may be a very limiting perspective. I mean, I think that's probably true, but I think also they're excited, I think, to see the world get expanded.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
all right. So
let's wrap.
Let's wrap it up. So
let's wrap this up, and we will post this as just a freebie. I'll figure out how to do it on Libsyn, and I'll write some show notes. Just say,
just wing it out there.
Yeah, why not? Yeah,
I can't think of a good reason.
Yeah.
So we miss Jet today.
Okay. Yeah.
Producer. Yep. She wasn't able to make it, but so give us feedback. It'll probably sound like shit.
Yeah. I'm curious to see. Yeah. Is this something anyone actually wants? This episode.
Who wouldn't want?
Because
who wouldn't want to hear the two of us rambling about whatever the fuck comes up?
Right. Well, because we just as easily could have done one of the chapters we were prepared to do, right? So 3 episodes now I've been prepared to do this big meaty chapter about what we learn about spice harvesting, and we could have done that.
We didn't. It's about to get real.
Yeah, we didn't do that for whatever reason. We just started rambling and decided to record it. So yeah, we'll see. All right.
I think there's a theory under here, which is that our rambling might be entertaining. So any feedback you have on that, Definitely want to know. Okay, so
But
thing.
it will not replace the discussion of the actual chapters in the story, of course not.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Okay, one more thing. I think it's really important just to acknowledge. We wanted, here's what we wanted. We were thinking we would grow this big Patreon group. Lots of people would come in. It would somehow help help us pay the costs.
Libsyn, the hosting fees,
blah blah blah.
editing.
Yeah, all that stuff. It turns out it's not it ain't cheap. I can see why Joe Rogan is so popular. He can spend the money to make that thing really work. Anyway, it didn't work out that way, but it still worked out in a great way. So our Facebook group is just growing like bananas, and all the people in there I love, and it's really open to anybody. So if you're on Facebook, and trust me, I get why you might not want to be, but if you're on there, and you want to participate in the group, what is Decode?
It's literally just called Decode Dune. Decode : Dune.
Get in there. There's lots of good Dune groups on Facebook. So let us be an entry to some of those groups, or let us be an accompaniment to the groups you're already in. But lots of good Facebook groups, and we think ours is pretty good, and it's growing like crazy. Also, if you know how Patreon works, and you have a couple $2, $3, $5 to throw at us monthly, you're absolutely welcome to do it. It would be very helpful. I promise we won't waste it on liquor and cook. Well, no, okay, I can't make that promise completely.
Two of the people I follow on Patreons, Quinn's Ideas, who also was my entry point into Dune. Besides being aware of Dune as a child, actually, my neighbors had a photo album book from the movie, and that was the first I ever heard of Dune as like a child, right? But in terms of revisiting it as an adult and being like, don't I probably need to read Dune at some point? Definitely Quinn from Quinn's Ideas. And then his roommate, David, Lucifer Meets Lightbringer, does a lot of mythology stuff. He's started with the Song of Ice and Fire, branching out into sort of just world mythology, which is cool to see. And he's writing a book about, what the hell is it called? Paradise. I think it's called Paradise Found or something like that. It's going to be about sort of, the original sin, it's kind of that Promethean, the original sin was actually the beginning of mankind's enlightenment and freedom, blah, blah, blah. Not to say blah, blah, blah about his work. What I mean is I don't actually know what I'm talking about. He does. he does. So, but my point here is I follow both of them on Patreon, and they release things early, or you get early access to maybe ask them questions for their live Q&As. But where was I going with this? Oh, they don't have like the Chapo Trap House style, like you get the bonus episode because you're a patron. So where I'm going with this is, my plea is, if you like that we are just putting this stuff out there, you can support us without getting anything because we're already giving.
Yeah.
That could be a way of looking at it, is what I'm kind of trying to say here.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You can also, you could probably constrain us in certain ways. You could be like, I'll give you $10 a month if X.
Yeah.
I'm just curious what
super
that
open to hearing.
be.
Yeah, we asked for feedback on the other episode. Super open to hearing about it.
Yeah. Some people could want more martial arts, less martial arts, more coaching, less coaching, more, I don't know, whatever. Less old man, more young man. Maybe they want the German to show up, and
maybe
who knows, right?
Yeah, it could be anything. We're open to hearing about it. Actually, it makes me wonder. So we're on this Zoom. Why the fuck? So why didn't we just start inviting people to? So we did this today. In a future Sunday, why don't we just start inviting people to join us? / is Zoom and then uploading it the way to do it, or getting on our YouTube? Would our YouTube live channel be the way to do it? Because we do have a YouTube,
or our Discord channel,
or our Discord. Still don't really understand how that works, but
well, look, so one of the things I think we're going to do is we're going to do a Discord based book club where we're going to read and discuss live what's going on. So that's a thing that has not totally ready, but almost. That'll get announced in the Facebook group. And I think we can do lots and lots of things where we engage with the content. When I think about the goal for this, even though we're a little bit begging for production money, which is real, And the actual goal is not really financial. It's Mike and I share some things, and one of the things that we share is just a love for this kind of analysis, and we like, I believe we like similar content. So we're both huge Tolkien fans. It was one of my greatest joys to bring Mike into the small circle of Tolkien scholarship.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I've attended some of those things. They're
pretty
great.
awesome, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, we want to treat these works in a similar way. And so if you're interested in engaging with this content, I think just creating more and different opportunities to do that is what our jam is.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think we know more than anybody else. We certainly talk more, but don't know more than anybody else. So it would be awesome to have people from the community join the actual podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think the way to make that happen is just pitch your thing, like your jam, the thing you want to talk about. So go to the Facebook group if you can, get in that group and just be like, I want to come on and talk about Fremen dishwashing practices.
Mm-hmm.
How the fuck did that work?
Right. Yeah. Oh, there's so much about the industry of the Siege that is not like it's a black box. We have no idea what the fuck is happening in there. We get the idea that there's a kindergarten.
Dude, they're manufacturing still suits.
Yeah.
Right. Not just for the Siege use,
the highest quality one. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot going on.
Right.
They're planting certain kinds of flowers and plants in the desert. There's all sorts of things going on. We've got a whole cottage industry.
Right.
So anything like that. Like, yeah, I think just you make the proposal, we put it together. There's a philosophy podcast that I listen to, and they created a big external community just based on individual group members' interests in philosophical topics or philosophers. Mm-hmm. And so they often have people who have done some serious analysis within their sort of amateur philosophy group come on and share their perspectives. Mm-hmm. So I'm a huge Rorty guy. That he's my dude. Mm-hmm. And they had a guy who did some really amazing analysis. It's so interesting to hear other people's takes. Mm-hmm. So anyway, so get in the Facebook thing if you can, and make your pitch for whatever you want to talk about, and we'd be happy to bring you on and have you participate.
Mm-hmm. Hey, this is really, really cool. Let's see here. So, do you know a Rondell Benjamin?
I am old.
Okay.
And so
I'll
refrain from answering because I don't want to offend anybody.
I'll spoil it. I only have one mutual friend with him on Facebook, right?
Yep.
And it's not you. Nope. It's not you. It's not Tim Cartmell. It is BMAC, right?
Oh, BMAC, yeah.
So, so Rondell Benjamin appears to be a practitioner of some sort of a grappling arts or some sort of a martial art. He's friends with BMAC, not friends with Tim. Not friends with you, not friends with me. He shared our episode, the Tim Cartmell episode, and shared it saying, "This is so fresh."
Oh, I've never been called fresh before. That feels like a life fucking achievement.
I'm gonna friend him.
Yeah, friend him.
This is cool. So he's from Wisconsin, but lives in Trinidad and Tobago. Friends with BMAC. I see some other jiu-jitsu looking people in his community, or in his the 8 friends I can see here. Interesting. Then there's a John Costilla Gonzalez, not friends with you, but friends with Tim. So I'm going to assume maybe he studied with Tim or went to one of his seminars. Yeah. Also friends with Daniele Bolelli. So not surprising that, Tim and Daniele would have some overlap there. Shout out to Daniele Bolelli. I did a thing where anytime I ate anything remotely Italian for like a period of 6 months, I would message him.
I love it.
Which, I mean, how weird would it be to just have someone, like some random person who is like kind of does the same, hobby as you, just being like,
Uh-huh.
just letting you know I'm eating pizza.
That's
just letting you know, had some pasta today.
That is a very, very Mike Goulas thing to do.
He was a good sport. He was a good sport about it.
Oh my God, dude. When he used to, like, the daddy likes that and sex in all uppercase when something was, I was like, this dude, I knew we were destined to be friends. So yeah, we had like 5
who are these
new members too.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah. So I'm gonna
So
add.
we should welcome everyone who just joined. As a matter of fact, look at all these. There's 120 people in here.
I don't know
not that many people listen to our podcast.
Yeah, I don't know where these people saw this share, because you shared it a couple times in these groups.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, it's whatever. Who cares? It's awesome.
Who cares?
Yeah. So
thank you. I think
you did share it to the internal arts practice and application.
I did. Yeah.
I'm gonna join that group
because it's a Tai Chi thing, right?
Right.
Like it just says we love to give away. We love to give shit away.
Right.
It's about the Tai Chi.
Right.
Part of the training would have been some kind of Fremen. We get into it in the episode, not as deeply as I would like to, but we definitely get into it. Like, even like Shuaijiao, the Chinese wrestlers, they would do this training with like a piece of rope. It's like isometric, and so strength generating, practicing sort of key positional transitions, but without generating, but not cardio intensive.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Right.
Just literally like making your grip stronger, that kind of stuff.
Right.
I just love to nerd out on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and we have to schedule. We've really struggled to schedule our appearance on the Adam Wood show.
I'll make time whenever.
Okay.
That's so awesome that he's willing to have us on. And if I'm the blocker there, because I'm too old to understand how social media works, you speak for me. You just tell me when we need to go, and I'll go.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
All right. So I guess we should say goodbye to everybody.
Okay. All right. Later, y'all. Let us know what you think
nerds.
about this thing. All
yeah.
Right.
And thank you to this Facebook community. It's unbelievable. So excited. Yeah.
All right. Bye.
Bye.